Alrighty, it's finally time to do my unfiltered review of the Mini 3 Pro. I've had this in my hands for over 7 days, and I'm ready to give you some thoughts and opinions on it. Now, before we get started, I do want to go ahead and say I did spend my own hard-earned money on this drone, $909. I didn't pull this off the shelf at DroneWorks. I wanted to give you an unbiased, sort of clear opinion on this and whether or not it's worth purchasing. I've been really hard on the Mini series of drones in the past, so I felt that with this one being the 3 Pro, it really warranted a good hard look. So I was pretty critical on this, and I've flown it in a lot of different areas. And I will just say before this video even starts, this drone impressed the living shit out of me. But if you want my full thoughts on it, stick around for this video. But first, since this is an unfiltered review, and there may be some of you who have never seen one of my unfiltered reviews and don't know what to expect, I did prepare a brief safety statement.
Warning, this is a video disclaimer. Before we depart on today's video presentation, we would just like to go over a brief safety announcement. This is an unfiltered review, which means there will be unfiltered profanity. If you are someone who is easily offended by the F word, the S word, the B word, the D word, or the W word, please exit today's video. There are multiple ways for you to exit this video. You can simply unsubscribe, click the exit button at the top right corner of your application, or simply throw your computer or phone in the trash. For the comfort of other viewers, please ensure you read the entire video description prior to commenting. If at any point you feel nauseous or dizzy, an oxygen mask will deploy from the ceiling of your home. For the safety of you and those around you, please make sure you apply your mask before helping others. In the event of anything making you piss your pants in the course of this video, you'll find a life vest under your seat. Life vest availability may vary depending on your home situation. Lastly, we ask that you remain seated for the duration of this video. Even though things may appear to be smooth, turbulence is always a possibility. Take each end of your seatbelt and clip them together. Adjust the waistband for comfort. Once again, on behalf of the staff at OriginaldoBo, we thank you for watching today's video. We hope you'll consider subscribing. Now, onto the unfiltered Mini 3 video.
Alrighty, so big thank you to Sean over at Geekspana for doing that intro voiceover for me. It needed a British touch to really sort of just drive the point home about this video. So a lot of you may say, hey, you know, that's sort of senseless, you're wasting my time. And to that I say, I really don't give a fuck. You'll either watch this video or not. I don't give a shit. But with that being said, there are timestamps for your convenience, so you can jump around to wherever you want in this video to find the information that you are most interested in. I divide my video reviews up into a couple of different segments. I like to talk about the design characteristics and build quality. I like to talk about the battery life on the drone, the flight characteristics, and of course, video and photo. Now, when we get to video and photo, I have a lot to talk about because we not only have portrait video and photo now, but we still have landscape video and photo. So I've got a lot of samples to share with you all. So without further wait, let's go ahead and get into the design of this drone. So wow, DJI really sort of went into the tank on this design and really sort of changed the game of what we expect out of a mini drone. So with the Mini 3 Pro, we now have front and rear obstacle avoidance, which I think is pretty fantastic for the pilots that absolutely need it. I really don't fly with obstacle avoidance, so for me, I couldn't care less one way or the other. But something that they also did was change the way the position of these arms are. These arms are now a lot longer in the front and they're further back, creating more of a dead cat design. Now, the reason why they did that wasn't just to make it look cool, it's to take the props out of the shot because now the gimbal can go a full 60 degrees straight up, and it also has that vertical orientation, which allows you to create TikTok, Instagram Reels, and video for Facebook, which a lot of people are really jumping on that bandwagon. Speaking of vertical video and photo, if you aren't taking advantage of that, you really definitely should be, because poor little Johnny and Timmy are going to be sitting at the train station wondering where your vertical video and photos are. And well, sorry, Chuck, you missed that train. It's gone. It's left the building. It's left the port. It's left the bus station. You get the idea. You fucked up. You're too late. One other thing that they changed on the Mini 3 Pro that I really like is the fact that the battery now goes in the ass end of the drone. So we now have this anal battery that slips into here with no pamper covering the door. Before, they used to have this little door. It was like a pamper, and then you would slip the battery in like an enema. Now we don't have that. Now it's just, you know, this is like, woo, goes in the back. This is much more complete, much more professional. I really like that this battery slips into the ass end of this like this with 2 little clips. It just sort of ties up the design, brings it more uniform with the Mavic 3 and future DJI products. So big win there. There's also a new inclusion of props. These prop designs are definitely different. The ends of the props are a bit more rounded out, which does create a quieter drone overall. You'll also notice behind the gimbal, we have this big, huge air vent, which wasn't there on any previous Mavic Mini or Mini drone. And the reason being, this acts like almost like a mouth in a sense. It's sucking up all that cool air or all that air to rush that air over top of a heatsink to cool the processor. There is no internal fan on this Mini 3 Pro, so you will have to rely on air cooling and a heatsink to be able to keep this thing cold. So if you are going to leave this sitting at any one point for any given amount of time, just keep in mind that it could possibly overheat. Now, in my experience, I didn't have any overheating. It was hotter than hell, and the humidity was thicker than Kim Kardashian's ass. So no issues there. Now, let's talk about some of the things I don't like about this design. And one of those things is the fact that the SD card is a little bit difficult to get in and out. You really have to have a good cocaine nail to get that SD card in and out. Taking out the battery does make it a little bit easier, but I've already done some ejecto-cedo SD cards across the lawn already with this. So this is one of my common and reoccurring complaints with DJI is just the recessed SD card slot. And then the last thing comes in form of the battery. They made a design change which no longer allows you to see the level of the battery if you had this in your bag. You actually have to have it in the drone in order to see the level of the battery. And for me, I feel like that's a bit of a miss, but it's not like a huge deal breaker, but it's just something that if you have more than one battery, you can only see the level of one battery at a time, unless you had some sort of case that allowed you to see all the battery levels. All right, and then DJI created this. This is the new RC. This RC allows you to connect directly to the DJI Mini 3 Pro, which I love this RC. Now, if you're somebody who is coming from something, let's say like a Mavic 3 or a Mavic 2 Pro and you had a smart controller, you've had the RC Pro, this will feel substantially cheaper. And it's supposed to be because this was, you know, basically a freemium item. Now you may say, well, this is not free. Well, it sort of is. You're only paying like $200 for this beautiful controller. And to me, that is freemium. You have to pay, but it's almost so cheap, it might as well be free inside of the kit. So this is the best RC for any mini drone right now on the market. No other mini drone has its own dedicated screen, unless if you were hoping Autel was going to put something out, but doesn't look like they have yet at this point. So this is the only mini drone at this point on the market that has a built-in screen. It's 800 nits. I will tell you, being in Florida, 800 nits is just not enough. It is still better than my phone. I have an iPhone and it was able to maintain its dedicated brightness for the entire duration of the flight. So that was definitely a good thing, but it's not great. It's just, it's not terrible. It's just not great. And this also has no internal fan. So that is another thing to think about. No internal fan, but if you think about it, most of our phones don't have internal fans. So really not a big deal, but I will tell you, in the dead of summer here in Florida, this thing got hot as shit. I mean, it was super hot. So you're gonna wanna do whatever you can to keep this out of the sun, because otherwise you will start trimming through the battery on this, and the battery life on this is actually pretty good. All right, enough about this and the build quality. Let's talk about battery life on the Mini 3 Pro. Alrighty, so battery life on the Mini 3 Pro is okay with the standard battery. I can't comment on the other batteries for this because I don't have them. And I only had one battery to be able to capture all the footage that I did for this video. I was getting anywhere from 26 minutes to 30 minutes of flight, depending on what I was doing. If I was moving a lot more, I found that I was getting closer to 30 minutes of flight. Although I will tell you that the wind will be a direct derivative of battery life for the Mini 3 Pro, and that's just on any drone. But I found that most instances in most flights, and I flew this, I counted, I think we flew this roughly about 38 times and over 9 or 10 different locations. And the battery life was coming in sub 30 minutes almost each time. This is a 2453 milliamp hour battery. And I'll tell you, they've made some great improvements in the technology inside the drone. But if you are going to add new batteries, just buy the extended range batteries. You'll be greatly satisfied with the fact that you get closer to that 35-minute mark for flight time. This was pretty challenging. Basically what I was doing in between flights, I was taking the battery out, putting it up to my Jeep air vent, cooling down the cells, getting the battery to a stable point to where it would charge again. I was connecting it up to my Mavic 3 65-watt wall wart charger, and then charging the battery in the drone. And by the time we were making it to our next location, we were basically ready to fly again. It's obviously not ideal to have to do that, and it's not healthy for the batteries to do that, but it was getting me through the flights, and the batteries did do pretty good. I do want to make mention, when I was flying out by the Skyway Bridge, I did actually get a warning on my screen that the battery was overloaded. I was in sport mode, and I was basically trying to beeline toward the bridge as fast as I could. And I was filming in 4K 24 at that point, and I did get a notification, a little pop-up that says battery was overloaded and that I needed to stop. So I quickly stopped, just sort of let it cool off, but I didn't want to stop too long because then I remembered that, wait a second, this doesn't have a fan, so I needed to keep moving in order to capture that airflow. So just be mindful of that. Now your results may vary if you try the other battery. Now the RC that DJI has included, the battery life is really excellent on this. I have to say, I'm really truly impressed with the battery life on this new DJI RC. The model number and name on this is actually a RM330. And wow, battery life is really good. I have yet to charge this, and I've been flying it for 7 days. And you can see right now, just keeping it on, I'm finally going to need to charge it. I'm down to 17%, but I did multiple locations, multiple flights, and I did that all on a full charge. And I have to say, very, very impressed with this particular unit. Alrighty, let's talk about the flight characteristics along with the range and what I experienced flying this in the city and out in urban environments and over water. So the Mini 3 Pro is probably one of the best performing mini drones on the market right now. I will tell you that this flies more like a larger drone than it does a smaller drone, which I think is pretty much my favorite thing about this besides the camera. The other thing is this drone is just so damn quiet. It is the quietest drone on the market today. If you are concerned about people coming outside of their house or yelling at you for flying your drone, the Mini 3 Pro will solve that problem. It is the anti-carrying of drones. It is the most stealthy drone on the market today. If you were a private eye investigator and you were utilizing a drone, this would be the drone that I would use because it is just that damn quiet. I was actually really shocked at how quiet it was. And once you get up in the air about 30 feet or so, it is undetectable, which is incredible. It's super quiet. And to me, that's a big deal, especially photographing houses or photographing or filming in neighborhoods. I don't want to cause a big ruckus, and I don't want to have people coming out and asking me what I'm doing. So to me, this is definitely one of the starlight features of the fact that it is so quiet. As far as the flight characteristics go, it is super nimble. I felt like even in strong winds where like Lon was with me and he was flying the Mavic 3, I felt like this was able to keep up with it. I was able to fly out towards the Sunshine Skyway, which if you're not familiar with that, from the pier in Tampa, Sunshine Skyway Pier, to the base of the, I want to say the base or I guess the spires of the Sunshine Skyway Bridge, that's roughly about 3,800 feet. And this had no problems. And it's usually pretty windy right there at the inlet of the Tampa Bay region. And again, no problem whatsoever. super stable. I didn't notice any issues with the video. I didn't notice any vibrations. I know a lot of people were complaining about vibrations, and I also didn't notice any horizon tilt, which I think is a really a key thing, and I'm pretty critical and pretty anal about that. So as far as flight characteristics goes, I think this did just really exceptional. I have no complaints, super fast. I was able to hit my top speed multiple times, but in the wind, that's when you're gonna get those overloaded battery warnings. So, you know, take that for what it is. But for most of the time, I was just cruising around in the standard mode, which was getting me about 25 to 26 miles per hour. All right, enough about flight characteristics. Let's go ahead and talk about the thing that you came here for, which is image quality. All right, I'm just going to put it like this. This is the best mini drone camera on the market. I don't care what Autel fans will say about the RYYB sensor. That sensor doesn't hold a fucking candle to this sensor. This is the best pound for pound or under pound, 249 gram drone to date if you are looking to capture the most professional looking image that you can possibly get. This is the best you can get. And I will tell you that because I am super, super critical when it comes to what an image looks like as far as color, sharpness, everything. I'm not just looking at dynamic range. I'm looking at all the characteristics that make up a great camera. And that's the problem, is you get a lot of these hobbyists that have no fucking idea what a great camera is. I mean, a great camera could smack them in the dick and they wouldn't know it. They wouldn't know it. And I will tell you that this definitely, for the price and the size, it does do a hell of a lot great. So with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and play some sample footage that I've shot over the past 7 days. I've got night footage, I've got beach footage, I've got day footage, all different types of the day. And yeah, so let that play, and then we'll be back and we'll talk a little bit more about the vertical video as well. Alrighty, so as you can see, I think that, you know, footage-wise, I think this, it did amazing. It did really, truly, truly amazing. Now, I shot that in a mixture of some desync-alike and some just the standard profile. The desync-alike clips, I'll go ahead and show you some of them now. The desync-alike on this camera is super desaturated. I mean, if you were hoping for a log profile on a mini drone, that is about as close as you're going to get. I would have almost rather them include a D-log because the desync-alike is super hard to work with. Now, there's a plethora of conversion LUTs out there that you can purchase. I've tried a bunch of them for the Mini 3 Pro, and I wasn't, you know, totally satisfied with any of them that I really tried, just to be honest. I will tell you that Mike from Drone Supremacy makes a great conversion LUT. I'll put a link to his conversion LUT in the description. I also went ahead and used my color card to work on my own conversion LUT because I wanted something that was just about ready to go, like that would just need a little bit of tweaking, not a lot of tweaking. I will tell you that his colors are really nice, but I wanted something that was a little bit more ready to go. So I went ahead and created my own LUT as well. I'll have a link to that. That's gonna be on my Selfly store if you're interested in that. And I'll also include a link to his LUT as well, because I think it's just a little bit different of a style and that may appeal to you as well. But I will say that color-wise, this is the best of any mini drone. It matches more along the lines of the Mavic 3. Whether you are filming in the standard profile or you're filming in the desync-alike, you are not gonna find a complaint with the camera, I assure you of that. it looks really, truly amazing. It really, really does. All right, vertical video and photo. I've said this before, it is something that's here, it's a hype, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon. So I will tell you, this is the first time I've ever really experienced this on a drone. I know DJI is not the first to do this, but they were somebody who did this back with the Mavic Pro, the original Mavic Pro. It just wasn't a great execution of this. Now with this gimbal, it's a much cleaner, much more reliable execution of this. And I have to say, I really found myself enjoying taking vertical video and photo. I'm trying to do more on TikTok. If you're not following me there, that's where a lot of the faster paced content is going to go. That is also where all of my vertical videos will be going from the Mini 3 Pro. So if you're not already, go check that out at OriginaldoBo on TikTok. But I gotta say, it works flawlessly and it just looks great. And the fact that I'm not having to crop in on these photos, I just love it. I just love it. I don't know why I'm so addicted to taking these photos, but it just made me smile every time I took one and I got back and I had like the full building upright in the shot. And I was just like, man, I love this. Now there is something I want to make mention of. One of the things too I purchased this for was to be able to provide my clients reels. And I film currently with my cameras on a vertical mount on my gimbals. So to now be able to also do this from the aerial perspective is a huge win. A lot of my clients like to use TikTok and Instagram for marketing. So now I can offer those videos to them as well. Listen, it's just time to embrace it. And the less time you keep you don't want to embrace the vertical video and photos, it's going to leave you in the dark. It's going to leave you in the dark. And eventually it's going to be too late to board that train. So I'm telling you, get on this while you can. Try it out. You're going to be pleasantly surprised with it. All right, let's talk a little bit about photos because I love the photos coming out of this. I feel like the photos have great dynamic range. The files are great to work with. I really didn't have any problems, whether it be at nighttime or during the day. So let's talk about the photos that I took. So I went ahead and shot some photos for some clients just to see if they would notice the difference between this and my Mavic 3. And I'm happy to report that they had no idea that this was a mini drone photographing some of these properties. I did some aerials of a vacant lot. I did aerials of houses. They couldn't tell the difference. And once the photos are edited, it's indistinguishable from this and the Mavic 3. Maybe the Mavic 3 has just the slightest bit more detail, but honestly, it's only really, really slight and you only really notice it in the trees on most instances. Even up against my A7 III, this thing really held its own, which I think was pretty impressive. Once the files are edited down, you really can't tell a difference. I loved using the 48 megapixel photos, which is pretty much to me the best mode that you can do if you're going to take photos. The photos are super sharp, super detailed, give you plenty of room to crop in after the fact. So if you're not happy with whatever it is you've captured, just crop in a little bit more and I'm sure you'll be able to get what you want. Great photos, great color reproduction. I mean, all the way around the board, I really don't have anything negative to say about this camera. I really don't. I don't feel like I had any real particular issue with this camera during the whole 7 days of flying it. All right, let's just talk about the last thing, which is the range. Okay, so range for the Mini 3 Pro. A lot of people have been complaining about the range, stating that they haven't been able to get over 600 meters. I will tell you that this is the FCC version. I cannot speak to the CE version, but what I will say is that I haven't had a single issue with range. Even out in the city, I haven't had any problems. I will say that using the new RC, it is a little bit more directional. So you do want to make sure whatever direction your drone is that you are facing it. You can't be flying like this. I mean, let's be real. If you're flying with your back to the drone, well, that's on you. That's on you. Rule 101 when it comes to signal is you want your direction to be facing whatever way your drone or whatever way the craft is. I mean, that's just 101 when it comes to RCs and radio frequencies. But I will tell you, max distance I had this out was roughly about 9,000 feet. And it didn't show any signs of hampering, which I thought was pretty impressive. The only thing that had me at a concern was the battery life and the fact that the wind wasn't with me. So I wouldn't push it out any further than that. But I don't think I need it much more than that. Now in the city, I was behind buildings, I was around lots of Wi-Fi reception, I was around a lot of interference, and I didn't have any problems. Like no problems whatsoever, no disconnects. It just was a really pleasurable experience. And if you are somebody who is going to be flying in a city like this, it feels really great to be flying this, because I know if something should happen to happen and this falls out of the air, this hitting the ground is not gonna hurt anybody, and this is not gonna damage anybody's property. And the likelihood is that this would just get destroyed on impact. So there's like a reassuring factor flying this in the city. So range-wise, I have no complaints for range. But I'm not going to discount the fact that there could be some problems with certain units in range. Because remember, with the Mavic 3 Pro, or I should say with the Mavic 3, I had problems with my GPS while other people did not. So I'm not going to say that all units couldn't have a problem with range. I'm just saying that this particular unit doesn't have an issue with range. All right, let's go ahead and just wrap this video up. Alrighty, so in conclusion, I have to say that this is right now by far my favorite mini drone on the market right now. And like I said, I have been pretty critical on DJI in the past, and I have been begging and wishing for a more pro version of a mini. And right now, this is the best drone for somebody who is traveling, somebody who wants the least amount of compromises, somebody who wants to be able to take this to almost any country and know that it's going to comply with almost all of the drone laws. That's this drone. It's just your best bang for buck value. And you know what? The competition knows it. And I hate to say it, you know, Autel blew their wad a little bit too soon on the Nano. They stepped into a fold that they weren't capable of competing in. Sorry. I know there's gonna be a lot of people that are gonna get pissed with this and be like, ah. Well, that's just too fucking bad. You gotta call a spade, and that thing is just shit, and this thing is not. And I'm not a fanboy of DJI, but I am a fan of this drone. I fly all drones equally, and I fly the best equipment that I possibly can for the job that I'm doing. And this right here is damn good. They really outdid themselves with this product. So your experience may vary, but I'm just gonna say straight out of the gate, I'm gonna give this one a thumbs up. I mean, they really nailed it straight out of the gate with the launch. All right, that's gonna do it for this video. If you are interested in checking one of these out, there'll be a link in the description below for DroneWorks. I believe there is 1 or 2 left. I would always call and confirm prior to ordering, so you're not sitting around waiting, because I know these are a super hot item and they're really hard to get in stock. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Stay original.
I heard they checking for me, no one checking on me, so I had to go run up a check. I got the message on me, ain't no flexing on me, my attorney gon' call and collect. Blessings on blessings for me, my successes only made them envious, they got upset. I had to put all their egos in check. I want the money to